Have you ever made a friend in an online game that one day just disappeared from the internet and you never saw them again? After they disappeared, what would happen if you decided to steal their identity, their username, their mannerisms, even their Minecraft skin, everything about them? Could you convince people that you were the real deal? Well, on the oldest anarchy server in Minecraft, this actually happened. And the story is absolutely insane. Many years ago, when a 2b2t legend quietly left the server for good, a completely unknown player took their identity and pretended to have never left. This imposter was so convincing that the entire community was fooled for years. He even received invites to highly secure bases and had access to private item stashes. So, how did this happen? Why would someone go to such extreme lengths to pretend to be somebody else? Well, by the end of today's video, you will completely understand why. We will be discussing the history of 2b2t legend Police Mike 55, how an unknown player managed to take his identity, and how eventually some members of the community began to suspect that he was an imposter. He made a grave mistake that eventually gave him away. Our story today is just as wild as it sounds, and it all started 10 years ago. The original Police Mike was one of the earliest 2b2t players, joining 1 month after the server was created back in December of 2010. He was recruited and became an active member of the server's first major group, the Facepunch Republic, and got along well with many of the server regulars. With his friend XCC2, he was one of the first people to enter 2b2t's end dimension using illegally obtained portal frames. While Police Mike was well known in the community, not everyone was friendly with him. Some of the earliest 2b2t griefing videos on YouTube involved Mike's bases being blown up. One in particular shows the server's most notorious griefer, Pop Bob, betraying Police Mike and helping to grief his base. Considering they would eventually base together, their friendship could be described as hot and cold as time went on. Police Mike would help create many prominent bases such as Squid Base, Ziggy Town, and Plugin Town, a base built using hacked-in items due to a backdoored server plugin. So all of these things should give you an idea of who the original Police Mike was. He was an active and well-known member of 2b2t's old community. Fast forward to the year 2015, the original Police Mike decided it was time to move on and leave the server for good. He wasn't playing as often as he used to, and like many people in life, just found himself too busy to have time for Minecraft. He quietly left the server without saying a word to many of his friends. For 2 years, there was radio silence, and he was not seen on the server in any real capacity. But sometime before 2017, an unidentified person got into contact with Police Mike, asking to purchase his Minecraft account. Not much is known about this mysterious buyer other than the fact that he claimed to have already been a server regular. Mike didn't know why this person wanted his account, but he agreed anyway and sold it to the buyer. Little did he know that this mysterious person was going to completely take over his identity and would continue playing on 2b2t, fooling the entire community for his own personal gain. The imposter did his homework and researched everything he could about the original Police Mike. He found out who his friends were, the bases he was at, and any other info that would help him keep up the charade. By 2017, most server communication was happening not in the server's public chat, but in 2b2t related Discord servers. The real Police Mike didn't have a Discord account, so the imposter made one, which made the entire act even more convincing. In the summer of 2017, the imposter would log into the server for the first time using his new persona. Many of Police Mike's old allies got into contact with him once they saw the account was online again, having no idea it was a fraud. Fake Police Mike attempted to mimic the original style of typing and mannerisms, and at first was quite convincing. He would go on to receive invites to bases, would join groups such as the Spawn Masons, and he was even given valuable items by newer players, attempting to get into his good graces. People would even ask him to do interviews about the old days on 2B2T. For the fake police Mike, everything was going according to plan. Even old members of the community were convinced that he was the real deal. This is exactly why he wanted to purchase the account in the first place. You see, throughout most of the server's history, the community had an obsession with join dates. The earlier you joined the server, the more respected you were, regardless of what you actually did. The faker knew that assuming an old player's identity would be an easy way to obtain instant relevancy and respect without having to actually work for it, and saw that the real police Mike was no longer an active player. It was too easy. These days, I would argue that join date is really not that important, as many players that have joined 2B2T in the past year or two have already had massive impacts on it, such as Baki, who I've talked about in previous videos. Regardless, the fake police Mike was using his account's early join date to get ahead in the community. From 2017 until 2019, the fake police Mike was an active player, even participating in the server's incursions. More people became interested in Mike and kept asking him about the old days on 2B2T. This is where the imposter would make a fatal mistake that would reveal his true identity. Before I tell you what went wrong, if you're enjoying the video so far, make sure to leave a like, and if you hit that subscribe button, you're a legend. I'm not going to bore you with the stats this time, let's just get to the point. What mistake did the fake police Mike make that caused him to be exposed? Well, he decided to write down a detailed history about himself and post it publicly. It had many details about the original police Mike's actions, such as being a member of the Facepunch Republic, entering the End Dimension with XCC2, and being part of bases like Squid Base, Ziggy Town, Plug-in Town, and so on. A lot of this information was already public knowledge. He put a disclaimer at the top stating not everything is 100% accurate. I went based off screenshots and memory. This was to prevent people from questioning if details were wrong. But regardless, he ended up going into too much detail, which caused a member of the old community to comment that his own memories of the events were different than what Mike had described. This led others to begin questioning his authenticity. Even XCC2, who was one of the original Mike's friends, started growing suspicious and noted that police Mike was getting minor details wrong in conversation that the original would not, and his mannerisms were not quite the same. 2B2T legend Tristan, who was not actively playing on the server at the time, heard about the situation and instantly knew something was wrong. A lot of information in Mike's post seemed very inaccurate. It turns out that Tristan was one of the few people that still had direct contact with the original police Mike. After exchanging messages, the original Mike confirmed that he had sold his account to this anonymous player, stating, "I sold my account to this guy over a year ago and he's acting like he's me. I really don't care that much, so I don't want to ruin it for him." After learning the truth, Tristan's group, Nerds Incorporated, previously known as the Tyranny, made this information public, and the ruse was blown wide open. Many in the community were shocked. Why would someone go to such great lengths to pretend to be somebody else? Friends of the fake police Mike were conflicted. He had been lying to them the entire time, but had also been their friend and helped them out on several occasions. Some people even respected how much dedication was needed to pull off the charade for so long. So what ended up happening to the fake police Mike? Now that he was exposed, what was he going to do? Believe it or not, he just kept playing. While some in the community were obviously upset, the majority didn't really care. They just accepted the situation for what it was and kept referring to him as Mike. He did release the Police Mike username and changed it to Milkman Mike instead, finally separating himself from his fake identity. So is this a happy ending? I guess it is, but you still have to admit that this entire situation for a block game is completely insane. A random player assumed an old player's identity, and the entire community bought it, myself included. Not only does it show how seriously some people take this game, it also kind of makes you wonder if there's anyone else in the community doing the same thing. Well, hey, if you enjoyed today's video, hit that like and subscribe button. Also follow my socials, but that's it. Take it easy, Fit Fam, and don't be sus.